Hey, what's up, y'all? Today we're talking about My Money Has a Mission, which is all about financial management. Now, if you're like me, you know that you not only need money, but want money to do the things that you want to do in life, right? So, we're going to walk through what it means to have a plan for your money and to make it work for you and not just you work for it. My name is Anthony Sparks, and it is a pleasure for me to bring this presentation to you on behalf of Tate and Associates. Now, do me a quick favor, just in case you're sitting around some people you might not know. If you're sitting next to them, just quickly introduce yourself. If it's somebody across the room that you might not be familiar with, you might not know, just throw a head nod or throw a wave at them or something. Just let them know, hey, I see you, how you doing, that kind of thing. All right, so get to know each other real quick so that we can keep it moving. Now, if this presentation is going to be as good as it should be, then it's going to require you participating. All right. So, as the picture says, I need your participation. So, when we get to exercises or things to do, I need you to be all in and do them. Can I count on y'all for that? I think you said yes. So, we're going to go with that. All right. Good stuff. Now, because I'm not there with you in person, it's going to be super important that you pay attention. All right. So, as we go through this, really try to pay attention and zone in on what we're talking about so that you can get the full benefit of this presentation. All right. Cool. Cool. A few things I just kind of want to throw out there to you all to make sure that you know. And the first one is simply this: I need you to remember that you are valued. All right. I don't care what other people might say, what people might think, or even what you might think sometimes. I know sometimes we get down on ourselves and we feel like we're not really worth a whole lot, but I need you to hear this once and for all. You are valued. Second thing I need you to know is that you are talented. All right. Again, I don't care what other folks' talents are. I don't care what other people are capable of. The fact is, you have talents that you can contribute to this world. All right. There's something that you do well or better than anybody else. And so the key to being everything you can be is to understand that you have talents and gifts and abilities. All right. The third thing I need you to remember, plain and simple, is that you are absolutely amazing. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Don't point at yourself. Don't look to the side. No, I'm talking to you. You are amazing. All right. So believe that. And last but not least, you are successful. Notice I didn't say you will be successful. I didn't say maybe at some point in the future you are going to be successful. No, I said you are successful. All right, you are successful. I need you to really get that in your mind. All right, get that in your heart. Understand that you are successful and you have everything it takes to keep succeeding. All right, cool. All right, so of course, all of us have plans for what's next in our futures. And so just kind of want you all to talk real quick amongst yourselves about what's next for you. Is it an internship? Is it a summer job? Is it a scholarship? Is it a full-time job? Do you plan on volunteering? Do you want to get a part-time job? Or are you working a part-time job? Do you plan to go to the military? Is college next on your agenda? Whatever it is, let's talk for a little bit about what's next in your future. All right, y'all. So here is the quick overview of today's discussion on My Money Has a Mission. We're going to hit four main areas today. Number one, we're going to try to understand money and where it comes from. I'm not talking about, where the paper comes from and how it gets printed up. No, I'm talking about how we earn it, how we make it, how we get money, that thing that we need. Secondly, we're going to talk about first things first, which simply means putting needs over wants. If you're like me, it's a lot of stuff out there that you want, but that stuff should never come before getting the things that we need, right? Because needs are things we need to live. Wants are things that simply can make life a little bit better. There's a difference, all right? We'll talk about that. Number three, It will rain. In other words, there will be things that come up that you don't plan for. There will be some emergencies sometimes, but you can be ready for that stuff. All right. And that's going to be all about the importance of saving our money. And last but not least, we're going to talk about not getting caught up in comparison, which means we're not going to try to, look to our left or our right or always compare on social, or whatever, what other people have. We're going to work on appreciating what we have. All right. So we'll talk about that last but not least. So here's a quick discussion point for you all. I want you to kind of talk amongst yourselves and answer this question. How do people typically get money? Like, what are three ways that you can think of that people get money? No right or wrong answers. Just list three ways that people actually get their money. Okay, so now I know some of you probably said some of these things, but let's just go through how people sometimes get money. There are various ways we can get money. Number one, we can earn it, which means we can, go to work and get a paycheck. We can get allowance for things that we might do around the house. We can own a business. We could trade people some things to get money. You can also retire from working. After you've worked a certain amount of time, you can then retire and start collecting the money that's been saving up in your retirement account for when you stop working. The second way you can get it is by winning it. You can win the lottery, you can bet money and win the bet, and of course earn money from that. And then you can also win sweepstakes like the Publishers Clearinghouse and things like that. The third way, you can find it. All right, you can find it. Now, let me say this. We've gotten past the point of kind of picking up pennies off the ground, but as many pennies as there are on the ground, you'll be surprised if you just start picking up a penny or whatever, a little coin every time you find it and just have a jar tucked away for that. You'll be surprised at how much you make or how much money you found and thus add it to your account over time. So if you find a penny, pick it up. The fourth way, we can accept money. All right. We get money for our birthdays sometimes as a gift or for special occasions. And then some people have what's called a trust fund, which means their parents have so much money or made so much money and they put it into an account that the kids weren't able to touch or aren't able to touch until they get to a certain age. And then they can get that money out. That's another way. And last but not least, you can get money through a government subsidy. Things like, welfare, food stamps, things like that. All right, that's another way, I'm sorry, that you can get money. So those are the five ways that people can get money. Earn it, win it, find it, accept it, or through a government subsidy. Here's something I want you all to really think about. Teenagers, that means you sitting right there. Yes, you. You earn, save, spend, and borrow billions of dollars each year in the marketplace. All right. You have more money to spend than previous generations, and you develop spending patterns at a younger age because almost as soon as you're born, you're getting hit with information. You're getting hit with things that you can spend money on, whether it's through watching cartoons and seeing the commercials pop up in between the episodes where they're showing you the latest toy or the latest game. If you're on social media, you're seeing all the different ads and the people selling stuff that you follow. There are so many things that are trying to get your attention to say, hey, spend money on me. So that's why your spending patterns develop at a lot younger age than those of previous generations. Oh, considering that those spending patterns are developed at a much younger age, let's jump into it and talk about need versus want. All right, what's the difference? So I want you to just take a couple of minutes to talk about what you believe is the difference between a need and a want. Need and a want. All right, let's talk about that for a second. All right, so now if you have kind of figured out or talked about the difference between needs and wants, let's look at some examples of those things. All right, I want you all to list five needs that you have in your life. All right, so five needs. I want you to rank them in order of importance. 1 meaning it's the most important need you have. 5 meaning it's still important, but not quite on the same level as number 1. All right, I want you to do the same thing for a list of 5 wants. All right, for a list of 5 wants. And then after that, let's look at the cost of these things to see about how we can make smarter choices when it comes to trying to figure out our needs and wants. All right, so let's do that now. So here's the thing, y'all. Here's something to remember. Unless you are just an absolute, billionaire or multimillionaire, everybody has a limited amount of money that they can use to buy things that they need and want. That's why it's important to make smart choices about how to spend your money, because we have a limited amount. All right. And if I go and spend the $50 that I was going to spend on, let's say, I don't know, paying my phone bill, if I go spend that $50 on going and just splurging at McDonald's, probably not the wisest decision, considering that I got food at home that I could have eaten, or I could have just went somewhere else, bought something a little bit cheaper, still had a whole lot more money left over, and I could have still paid off that phone bill possibly. All right, so that's why it's important that you make smart decisions about how to spend your money, and sometimes where to spend your money, because it's limited. And we got to make sure that we are using our money to make sure that we have everything we need to live our lives effectively before we go and start splurging on things that are nice but aren't necessarily necessary. All right. So, if you've ever heard the phrase money doesn't grow on trees, that's correct. Technically, it's paper, so to an extent, there is a level of tree that's involved, but you can't just walk outside right now, go say, you know what, I need $100, go to a tree and pick it off. Doesn't work like that. So, even though money doesn't grow on trees, unfortunately, it does grow in the bank. And so, saving is one of the best things that you can do with your money, because when you save, you're planning for the future, which means we save because we see something we want or need down the line that we might not have the money for right now. But if we make a plan, we can do what we need to do to get there in the future by putting back a little of the money that we've earned and saving up for it, so that when that time comes, we can get that thing we need or want. So what I want you all to do right now is write down 3 things that you are saving for. All right. And if you don't have, let's say you don't have anything that you're saving for right now, what are 3 things that you might think of that you could or should save for in the future? All right. Just want to see what you got in mind. Just want to see what are some things that you feel like you need or you want that you don't have right now that you want to get in the future. All right. So take a little minute, write down 3 things that you're saving for. The reason why it's important to write down what you're saving for, the reason why we just did that previous activity, is because saving is so much easier when you have a goal in mind. Like, if you're just putting money away, sometimes you can feel like, oh, well, I can just go to my savings and get this money out if I just want something just random. But that'll kind of kill your plan. Saving is easier and better when you have a goal in mind, whether that's saving for a video game, a prom dress, a car. For me, it would be stuff like house repairs, stuff for my kids. It's just a lot easier. And then if you have a goal, the less likely you are to just go into your savings and get money out just for no reason, right? Or to just get something that could have really, been waited on. Having that goal allows you to plan how much you'll need to save on a regular basis to get there. All right. So think about it. If you need to save $1,000 because let's say in, I don't know, in a year you want to get a new outfit or a new pair of shoes or whatever the case is. You see some shoes that are coming out, this time next year. You're like, okay, I don't have that money now, but I'm gonna save up to get them as soon as they come out next year. Well, what you can say is if the shoe is gonna cost, I don't know, let's say it's gonna cost $200. Well, what you can do is you can take the next 12 months and plan it out and say, all right, every time I get some money, I'm gonna try to put back, what, let's say $15 or $20. And by the time that year rolls around and I've saved up $20 a month, I'll have $240. So which means I can buy those $200 pair of shoes and I'll still have a little money left in savings to start saving for something else. All right. It's all about having a plan so that you know how much to save on a regular basis. Saving kind of goes hand in hand with budgeting. All right. And that's because you can't buy everything you want when you want it. You gotta have a plan. All right. So just like I said a few seconds ago, there are lots of things that you might want to buy, but you don't have enough money to buy everything you want. And so a budget is going to help you decide what you can buy now and what you can save for in the future. So that way you're taking care of the needs right now and you're making plans for the wants in the future. So let's talk about credit cards for a second. You got to know this: credit is not free and it does not come easy. So when you see people, whipping out that black card or that gold card or that platinum card, and you're like, man, they can just get whatever they want. No, it's deeper than that. All right, so you got to understand, because sometimes credit cards and how they work can be very confusing. But you got to know that credit is not free money, because whatever you spend on that credit card, you might not have to pay it now, but you will have to pay it later, and it's typically the next month you got to pay it. All right, so even if you have, or if you get a credit card, you got to make sure that you know, all right, I might buy it today and not have any money come out of my account, but the bill is going to come due and I'm going to have to pay it. And here's the thing: if you don't pay what you spent on that credit card, that can mess up your ability to get, a better limit on your credit card. It could drive up the interest rate, which means you're going to be paying more to be able to use that credit card over time. There are just so many other things that come with credit. So I want to advise you, if you have one or if you're thinking about getting one, it's not free money. All right. It's not just there to let you spend what you want and move on. No, you got to pay it back. So whatever you spend on that card, make sure that you're going to be able to pay the bill when it comes due the next month. All right. So as we continue to talk about credit and credit cards for just a second, it's very important that you know, if you have good credit or good credit history, you have access to so much more than somebody with bad credit history. And typically, the way you get bad credit or have a bad credit history is if you don't pay what you owe. So, for example, on that credit card, let's say you had $1,000 limit and you spent $1,000 and you're not paying it. It's just that $1,000 is just sitting there. You still owe it. That's going to result in a bad credit history. And that's going to show up when you go and try to get like a car or a house or an apartment. Or sometimes, when we get these iPhones and these new Samsungs and stuff, they'll let us pay the bill over time, but only if you have good credit, which means there is evidence that you are somebody who pays your bills and you pay them on time. All right, so good credit is simply this: if you got a bill, pay it. Bad credit is if you got a bill and you don't pay it. Good credit allows you to get so many more opportunities. Bad credit can mess you up on things, even getting jobs. All right, so remember that. True or false? Teens, you sitting right there. Yes, you are under tremendous pressure to conform to your peers. All right, true or false? I think we know that's true. And guess what? Adults are also under pressure to conform to our peers. And so we call that peer pressure, but there's also another term that we use for it, and it is keeping up with the Joneses. In other words, the Joneses are those people that we look at and it seems like they just have everything. They got, the nicest house, or the fastest car or the best clothes, or just seems like they just got it all. And so a lot of times what we do is the things we do are done with the Joneses in mind. We're doing them to try to keep up with those people we think have it all together or have the things we want. And so that is the basis of what it means to compare yourself to other people. And once you get into that point, it's a very dangerous road to walk, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes of people's lives. And so sometimes the main people that you're trying to keep up with, guess what? They might be looking at an aspect of your life wishing they had what you had. And that's why it's dangerous to compare yourself to other people who seem like they have everything or seem like they have all the stuff you want. Because sometimes, even if they do, you have no idea what it cost for them to get that. So remember that keeping up with the Joneses, trying to keep up and compare yourself to other people is not worth it. So, as we kind of get ready to wind down and wrap this one up, I want you all to remember this few things. Number one, I want you to set some priorities. All right. Everybody has to set priorities on what you want. Your basic needs: food, clothing, shelter, education, and transportation. Those things take priority. Those are the things you absolutely need. So if you have a want that's going to take away or get in the way from any of those needs, I want you to think twice. All right. And remember this: overspending is an addiction. And if you overspend, again, going back to that credit card, or if you use your debit card and you keep getting hit with all these overdrafts and stuff, overspending can lead to debt, and then you might even have to declare bankruptcy if that debt gets to be too much. So be careful overspending. All right. Do not overspend. Spend only what you have. And matter of fact, I'm going to say it this way: spend less than what you have, because you always want to have a cushion in the case of, again, an emergency coming up. Next thing, I want you to remember about credit and how it impacts your future. Believe it or not, credit reports are being used by employers, jobs, to screen applicants. So when you submit your application, more than likely, that employer is going to pull your credit report to see what it looks like. The reason being is because they want to know, is this person applying for this job because they are desperate or in some crazy financial situations, which, if they are, could cause them to do some crazy things. And also, sometimes some companies say, all right, I'll be able to trust this person better with my stuff if I have a better understanding of how they treat their stuff. So if you're in a position where you've almost bankrupted yourself, more than likely that employer is going to think twice about hiring you, because they're now questioning your judgment and if you're going to be responsible with the opportunities that they give you, and all. And in some cases that involves money, and they want to make sure that the person they have in those positions are not people that are going to do some dangerous things to jeopardize that company. All right. In certain fields such as banking, financial services, technology, and law enforcement, credit checks for job applicants are required for some of those same reasons I just mentioned. So keep that in mind when it comes to your credit and how you're spending and paying stuff off. So real quick, for those of you who are either about to go to work for the first time, or if you are already working and you've received paychecks, here's something we got to understand. What we make is going to be more than what we take. And what I mean is, we're going to make one thing, that's our gross pay, but what we actually take home is the net. The net is going to always be less than the gross, because out of the gross, we get all kinds of stuff deducted out. All right, I want you all to talk about some of those things you think are deducted. All right, and I'll give you a hint: taxes. All right, but there are different levels of things that we pay for with our checks. So I just want you to talk about that. And then also, especially, don't be surprised when you get paid. And, let's say if you work 20 hours and you work for 10 bucks an hour, you're thinking, oh, I should get $200 this check. More than likely, that's going to probably be closer to like 1 160, 170, something like that. And that's because of the deductions that are taken out in order for us to pay for the things that we pay for to live how we live in this country. All right, so discuss that real quick about some deductions that come out of your check and why those deductions are important. All right, so as we close, I want you to remember that your money management skills are going to develop from the ideas, attitudes, and spending habits that you learn at your house, at school, and also in the marketplace, which also includes social media. All right. When you learn about good money management skills, you are more likely to become somebody who can make sound financial decisions, avoid getting caught up in a lot of debt, and you're able to manage your income and expenses to reach your financial goals. So, that being said, one last exercise I got for you to see how well you're going to manage this money. Let's say that you are making $3,000 a month. All right, $3,000 a month. And based on your expectations of the kind of house you want and the kind of car you want to drive and how you want to eat, like if you want to eat out a lot or if you want to go grocery shopping most of the time, or then in entertainment, if you want to go to sporting events and concerts and things like that, I want you to develop your future spending plan. So let's base it on $3,000 a month. You got $3,000 a month that you can spend in these, I think it's 7 categories. All right. You got $3,000 a month you can spend. Let's break down how much you're going to spend in each of those areas. Remember, the more money you spend on your housing, the nicer the house. All right, but you got to determine, if you want an apartment, then it's going to be a little bit less than a house probably. But it all depends on where you want to live and how you want to live. And then utilities includes things like if you want to have electricity in your home. That includes stuff like your cell phone. If you want to have internet, things like that, that's in utilities. For your car, it's not just about how much you're going to pay for your car every month. You got to also think about gas and insurance. All right, think about that. Education, that's up to you. If you're somebody who's going to keep going to school, then you got to spend some money on that. All right, so just break all of that down. Develop your future spending plan based on $3,000 a month, even though I believe each of you are going to make more than that. But let's break it down on $3,000 a month. And once you finish, let's talk about it. All right, go ahead. So the last thing I want you all to do is prove to me that you actually learned what I think you did out of this session titled My Money Has a Mission. I want you to write down 3 things you learned today, or 3 things that you're going to do better as a result of this presentation. All right, I want you to take some time, do that, and then discuss them with your group. All right, thank y'all so much for the time. I really, really hope you've learned something from this lesson, and look forward to y'all making a lot of money and being smart with that money. See you soon.